Hello, welcome back to the Mindset Mentor podcast with Anusong. I am your host. How are you doing? It's a great opportunity to be here again today. Okay, so today we are going to be talking on the subject I like to call the power of intentionality. And as a coach, I don't think I have ever been able to talk about the power of intentionality without incorporating or integrating the work of John Maxwell. If you have ever read the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, I like to always refer back to that or make reference back to that book when I talk about the power of intentionality. But before we go further, I like to define what it means by, intentional living. Intentional living is, being in a place where you have clearly defined your values, your goals, and everything that you want to achieve in life, and living in line or living in conformity with those goals or values that you have defined for yourself. Now, when a person calls you today and asks you in the next 10 to 15 years, by the grace of God, where do you want to become? Are you able to answer that question? Like, are you able to answer that question precisely? Okay, so if you are able, that's a determinant factor as to whether you are living an intentional life. And it's important for you to understand that a lot of people are just living life, or life is living them. Today, you might just be living. Are you really living life? Or are you in that place where it does seem as if life is living you? It is what we are going to be talking about here today. Now, the power of intentionality. If you want to go by the 15 invaluable laws of growth, you have a timing gap, you have the knowledge gap. I'm going to look at some of those gaps that John Maxwell mentioned, but I'm going to start with the knowledge gap. A lot of people are willing to grow, and they want to make some of those changes that will put them where they want to see themselves in, a certain time frame, but they are not able to, get to that place where they need to get to start. A lot of people tell you, I want to change, I want to become better, I want to get to that place where I am able to do things, the way that should be done. I want to grow myself. I want to be more knowledgeable about things. I want to have a better perspective about life. I want to think about certain decisions before I carry them, but I do not know where to start. That is the knowledge gap. Okay, being in a place where you want to start something, you want to grow, but you do not know where to start. Yes, that is what we call the knowledge gap. When you really desire something, it's important to understand that you have to go in search of that which you desire. Now, when it comes to personal growth, a lot of us are under the false belief that it's going to come automatically. It's never going to come automatically. Let's take, for instance, when we give birth to children, they grow and get to a point where they are able to do certain things by themselves automatically. Like in a timeline of 1 year, you see a child who used to play and, put food on everywhere in his body or her body, and all of that is not doing that again because they have acquired some certain level of growth. Okay, the next 3 years, the next 4 years, the child is able to write properly. The child, and the next 5 years, the child is able to read their own books and all of that. Now, this kind of growth, you see, we get to teach these children to do these things, but there are certain growth that we do not. Like they crawl, they sit, then they crawl, then they start walking. Okay, these are growth that happens automatically. When it comes to personal growth, it's not a matter of happenstance. It's something that you have to make effort to acquire in your life. So when you sit back and you desire to grow, it's important to understand that you might never find growth. You don't know it. It's not an excuse. You want to dig deep to find out what it takes to grow. When it comes to personal development, it's something you go after the same way we go after money. One thing we need to know in life is that if you refuse to work, you refuse to do anything that will bring financial resources to you, you're going to stay broke. You are going to stay dependent on other people. But it's the same thing with growth, personal development. If you stay you sit back there, you're not doing anything to grow yourself, you're not doing anything to change your life, it's going to stay the same. It's not something that happens automatically, it's something you have to go after. So that is the knowledge gap. You do not know it, you make effort to try and get all the information you need to get to begin to grow, to become a better person, to become that person that you can be proud of. Okay, so this is the knowledge gap when it comes to the power of intentionality. You want to be intentional in your life, knowing that if you're not intentional, nothing is going to change in your life. You have to make effort to find those changes that you want in your life. Life is all about effort. You have to put in so much effort and to be that person that you would want to be in life. Talking about the power of intentionality, I want you not to forget the fact that I made reference to the 15 invaluable laws of growth by John Maxwell. As a coach, I told you I've never been able to talk about the power of intentionality without making reference to this book, because it's a very beautiful, it's a good book. Okay, so right now, when you talk about the power of intentionality, you're talking about the growth gap, which I mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned it yet. We have the growth gap, we have the knowledge gap, we have the timing gap, we have about 11 gaps, if I'm not mistaken. But now we talked about the knowledge gap, we talked about the growth gap. The growth gap is understanding that growth is not going to come automatically, and the knowledge gap is knowing that you do not know it and making effort to try and acquire the knowledge that will help you become better. So we are going to talk about the timing gap that has to do with procrastination. A lot of us know exactly what to do to become better, but procrastination does not allow us. What is the need of keeping what you're supposed to do today till tomorrow or next tomorrow? A lot of us are so given to procrastination. We know that we need to do certain things in our life that will bring value, that will change our social, maybe our social and economic condition, that will change our financial situation, that will change certain things in our life. We are not ready to get up and do it. We say it's not yet time for me to do this. It's not yet time for you to do this. How much time do you know you have as an individual? This is the question I think we need to start asking ourselves. It's important to get up and do what you need to do when you need to do it. It's important for you to understand that you are your biggest responsibility. And we talk about investment every day. I see a lot of people who talk about investment. They do not talk about personal investment. One of the best investments you can do is that investment you do to yourself as a person, to grow you, to make you become better. Now, talking about the timing gap. A lot of us have this problem of procrastinating. We have something to do, we will never do it. We just want to wait because we think it's not the right time, because we think it's not the perfect time. There's never a perfect time to start what you need to start. The other day I was talking to my friend. Look, one thing I have come to realize about life that makes me so happy is, starting whatever I need to start from the scratch. What makes me happy is seeing it grow. The fact that I am able to grow a situation, to make it better, to get it to that point where I begin to benefit, maybe, financially or otherwise from it. Okay. So there is never a better time to do whatever you need to do right now. If there is something you need to do that you think is going to improve your life or improve the value, bring value to the table, it's important for you to get up and start doing it right away. I know that this thing with procrastination is something a lot of us have suffered. I have also suffered procrastination. There's something in your life that you think you need to do right now that will bring value to the table. Change your life, change that of your family, your I don't know. Is there something you need to get up and start doing it? Remember that there will never be a better time for you to do this than right about now. Now we are going to talk about the mistake gap. Okay. Now, the reason why a lot of us will not do what we want to do, what we have been called to do, and what we really, really desire to do, it's because we are too afraid of making mistakes. Yes, we are. A lot of us are too afraid of making mistakes. We want to be perfect in all we do. We want people to see us as perfect, and we just want people to have that perception about us that we do not do mistake. We have it all figured out and all of that. And that is what is called the mistake gap in the power of intentionality. Okay. Now, a lot of us have this issue with the mistake gap Because we don't want to make any mistake, we do not try. There are a lot of things that God has put inside of us that was supposed to bring us out there and make the world to begin to know us. But we are not ready to try because we don't want to make any mistake. There is nobody who doesn't make mistake. Now, if you're not making mistake, I stand here unapologetically telling you that you have not been trying to improve yourself. Yes, if you are out there trying to improve yourself, there is no way you will not make mistakes. I said this before, I'm going to say it again. When I started going into public speaking, I remember trying to make some videos years back, those days. I saw one of my old friend who contacted me. The person has never contacted me for a very long time, was talking to me on Facebook, telling me how I'm making mistakes, the things I'm not supposed to do, why this, why this, that, and all of that. Then I have seen some of the videos I did that people congratulated me and people loved it, and people said to me, try, I know that you can do better. I know Song Bukesh, I know you can do better, and all of that. But this guy, every time he called me, he was trying to tell me, pointing at the mistakes for me and all of that. I shouldn't be putting all of those kinds of videos on social media. I said, so what is your problem? One day you're going to pay to watch me speak, okay? So there are people who will make you feel less of what you are, but you need to understand that mistakes are allowed, okay? Now, don't be ashamed of making mistakes because you do not learn when you are not making mistakes. As a matter of fact, you are not even trying if you are not making mistakes. And you're going to stay in the same place if you do not try. It's true that people will laugh you or say things about you when you are trying to do certain things. You will never be the first person. Do not focus on what people are saying about you. Focus on the goal. The goal is to better yourself. When we are talking about, the power of intentionality as it has to do with, the 15 invaluable laws of growth. Laws of growth, personal growth, it could be any kind of growth, but most importantly, personal growth, because if you can grow as a person, the other areas will be taken care of, because when you are studying personal growth, it covers a whole lot of areas. Okay, so when you are trying to do something that will bring value to you, it's important to understand that people are going to laugh at you. There are people who are perfectionists, who are out there, who are not even trying to achieve anything. They are not even trying anything because they want their own to come out perfect. Now, the last 20 years, they've been trying to do the same thing. They've not been able to put it out there because in their own eyes, it's not perfect. It has to be perfect. And so they dump it because they think it's not perfect. So you don't want to be in that place of frame of mind. You want to be able to allow yourself to grow, gradually make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and fail forward. That is it. Now, talking about the 15 invaluable laws of growth, when we talk about the power of intentionality, there's something also that is called the comparison gap. A lot of us are not growing ourselves. We are not growing in, so many different areas because we compare ourselves with other people, with other people's growth, and we allow ourselves to be demotivated. We allow ourselves to be discouraged, okay? And then we dump what we want to do, whether it has to do with growing ourselves personally or have to do with other areas of growth in our life. We are not able to, accelerate further because we think that we are not good enough. No one was ever good enough. Okay. Now it's like when you give birth to a child, sometimes you see children who come out with poo and all of that. You don't throw that child away, you clean the child and you begin to, put that child, place value on that child, bathe your child, perfume your child, play with your child, and make that child look presentable and lovely before people come to see. So you begin to grow yourself gradually. It's important to understand that nobody ever had everything. A lot of us, a lot of people started from the very scratch, and they were never perfect. They had to grow from one stage to the other, and you are going to grow the same way. The fact that they are in the what will I call the zenith of their profession or whatever they are doing does not mean that you who is starting shouldn't make effort to. Now there is no like you're just trying to start something, you begin to compare yourself to people who have been there like 10, 15 years ago. it's important to understand that putting yourself in that frame of mind is really, really going to put you down. It will help you not to grow. It will make you feel as though you are not, good enough, and make you drop what that is that you are doing. You want to focus on your goal of achieving what you want to achieve and what you want to achieve within a timeline, and push as much as possible without bothering whether other people are doing better than you. You see, we all have our different, ways of doing things, and then it's important to know that because people have grown, those people who are where they are had to do everything that they needed to do and push as much as possible to get to where they are. The fact that you think these people are better than you is not necessarily so. They might not necessarily be better than you, but maybe because they started and they were more focused and they did everything that was within their power to reach their goal. And so this comparison gap is something that has demotivated a lot of people. And I would discourage you from comparing yourself from with other people. You have no business comparing yourself to other people. You want to do your thing. Our journeys are different, just as our faces are different. It's important for you to understand that. So now we're talking about the power of intentionality. I told you I would always, whenever I talk about the power of intentionality, I like to go back to the 15 invaluable laws of growth, where John Maxwell started with the law of intentionality. It's important for you to know that there's something called the law of intentionality. If you're not intentional as an individual, whatever it is you want to achieve in this world, you need to be as intentional as possible. It's your intention that makes you to stay focused, okay? Your level of intentionality makes you stay focused. Like the eagle, you do not take your eyes off your prey until you get to where you want to get to. I'm going to stop here today. I'm going to continue with the other gaps the next time we see. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate you and thank you for being a part of this channel. I'm going to, see you in my next video. Kindly subscribe and do not forget to turn on the notification bell, please. Thank you so much.